My grandfather's clock was too large for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor. It was taller by half than the old man himself, though it weighed not a pennyweight more.
Now, though analysts are expecting no change until the retail group Kingfisher has finally announced it's to sell off Woolworths. Shares in the high street chain will start trading at the end of the month. The Kingfisher has not said what the value will be.
But it's soft, froze, collapsed, went crazy.
When the old man died.
First, you turn the time circuits on. This readout tells you where you're going, this one tells you where you are, this one tells you where you were. You input your destination time on this keypad. Say you want to see the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Or witness the birth of Christ. Here's a red-letter date in the history of science. My God, has it been that long?
Simple as that.
All I wanted to do was play my guitar and sing. So take me away, I don't mind, but you better promise me I'll be back in time. Gotta get back in time. So take me away.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Frank W. Woolworth's first successful store.
It was a lucky April shower. It was the most convenient door. I found $1 million baby.
This is how the romantics would remember it. But the reality is rather different. So how did this, an assortment of pots, pans, tin toys and notions at fixed prices of 5 and 10 cents, come to revolutionize retailing across the world? Firstly, the range was simply unbeatable for the price. Although a few others had run 5-cent lines, they didn't have this quality and variety. Secondly, Woolworth recognized that customers want to see, touch and feel the products before they decide to buy. And thirdly, learning from an initial failure in Utica, New York, Woolworth stores were always to be at the very heart of town, visible and accessible to all. Frank wrote in his diary, "In Utica, I was tempted to the wrong side of the street in order to save some rental. Never again. A Woolworth store must be in the highest traffic spot where people know the value of a dime." Even in those early days, I was turning over an immense amount of goods, remembers Woolworth. I refused to run into debt. I built on a solid foundation.
In a 5 and 10 cent store, she was telling...
Mass market meant taking the store to the customer and offering them a unique range at unbeatable prices. I couldn't expect people to come to me. I had to take my store to the people. F.W. worked out that great value didn't mean cheap or inferior. It meant balancing the range to make money on some lines that he could buy very cheaply. It meant stocking brand new lines where people simply wouldn't know the price and would pay extra for the novelty. And it meant loss leading from time to time, normally only where stocks were one or two singles, aiming to gain a reputation for value for money that far outweighed the cost. This is why his stores were feared by their competitors, because Woolworth never lost. On one occasion, he ordered the window displays changed 5 times in a night, the last at 4 a.m. to make sure that his bargains were better than those of a new store opening. In the end, the rival gave up, recognizing that the Woolworth business had fundamentally better economics. Woolworth studied bookkeeping at night school. He decided from day one to use money to make money. He would never be saddled with debt. And though he borrowed the first $300 of stock, he soon paid it off and never borrowed again. That's why the shop fittings in the first store were so poor. But in the second store, they were better, and within 20 years, he was using the finest mahogany and was among the first to introduce electric light in store.
5 and 10 cents store. Who wants to be a millionaire?
We grew wealthy slowly, never going into debt, always paying for what we bought and paying in cash. We bought at the lowest price and bought not a cent worth more than we actually needed.
Who wants to wallow in champagne?
Woolworth was an entrepreneur. It was F.W. who introduced way-out suites in 1886, despite objections from managers and colleagues about shrinkage and sell-by dates. He bought direct from the manufacturers, the first ever to do so. By signing big orders up front, he brought the price down from 25 cents a quarter pound to just 5 cents, a nickel. Within his lifetime, profits on pick and mix alone would reach $3 million a year. It was Woolworths that offered genuine gold jewelry, some 18 karat, most rolled gold, at 10 cents apiece across America at the turn of the 20th century. He showed the manufacturers how to mass produce. They expected an order for a gross and got an order for 20,000 dozen per month.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
No wonder they dropped the price from $1 to 10 cents and still made money. And it was Woolworth who cornered the market in glass Christmas tree decorations, going to Germany to find the source of supply and snapping it all up, based just on the sales at the Lancaster store. 1 gross sold in 2 days, 1 million ordered for next year. Mr. Wilmselm, the supplier behind the Christmas decorations, noted in 1939, "I have sold at least $25 million of Christmas tree ornaments to F.W. Woolworth. Woolworth was the first." Frank earned his spurs as a retailer dressing the windows and setting out the display features in the Moore & Smith dry goods store in Watertown, New York. He knew the value of a good display that changed frequently, and soon learned that a bright red window, often made from napkins and paper with gold lettering, set off the simple, utilitarian 5 and dime ranges perfectly. Learning the merchandise and how to display it was a key part of the training of every Woolworth employee. Spend time planning and laying out the goods. Exploit our reds and golds, and put a price on everything, and you will sell. Woolworth never forgot the value of nickels and dimes in building $1 million fortune. He blasted managers regularly about till checks, about invoice matching and management, and generally about how to maintain a good physical standard in the store. He directed managers, "If you get hold of a good girl, pay her a little more to keep her from going to some other store. Some of our stores should pay not less than $3 a week, 50 cents extra. The help can do all window washing and cleaning, even varnishing woodwork. When they work late, don't pay them extra, but let them come in later the next day." Between 1880 and 1912, the American company went from strength to strength, taking on new partners and systematically adding stores right across the United States and Canada. To add sparkle and wonder to the offer, and as part of a constant striving to drive down costs, Woolworth followed the supply chain right back to the source of the product. This took him across to Europe regularly, virtually every year from 1890 onwards. Frank's shopping trips to Europe started a love affair with Great Britain that lasted for his whole lifetime. And that keeps the Woolworth name alive to this day.
It makes the boat go pop.
May 1909. Frank Winfield Woolworth set sail from New York to Liverpool, and a new adventure. With him, his wife Jenny Creighton, their 3 daughters and 3 managers from the New York district of the F.W. Woolworth five and dime business that was taking America by storm. 5 great pioneers, each trading dime stores as partners under their own names, with Woolworth doing the buying. Much of the success of F.W. Woolworth was built by riding the Industrial Revolution and from being the first to see the potential of assembly line production of simple products. Frank wrote, "The success of our organization may be attributed to a great buying power combined with economy and distribution." Three volunteers joined Woolworth for the British expedition. They were Samuel Balfour, a store manager, Byron Miller, a district manager, and Fred Moore Woolworth, Frank's second cousin, also a store manager from the New York district. Liverpool was a sight to behold. The biggest seaport in the world, the industrial heartland of the British Empire. The pioneers travelled the length and breadth of the country looking for sites for new stores and also for new members for the team. They recruited William Lawrence Stevenson to be a founder member and director of the company, and Charlie Hubbard to be manager of the first store. Shop fitters were hired, and plans were made for a grand opening with brass band to take place on Friday, 5th of November 1909.
Woolworths was built upon an idea, and a simple one, to sell products which everyone in this country needs at a price which everyone in this country can afford.
I've got 6pence, jolly, jolly 6pence. I've got 6pence to last me all my life. I've got 2pence to spend, and 2pence to lend, and 2pence to send home to my wife. No cares have I to grieve me.
The opening day was a riot, with nearly everything sold out.
As happy as a king, believe me, as I go rolling home, rolling home, rolling home, as I go.
Between 1909 and 1914, Woolworths rolled out 44 stores, an amazingly fast rollout, and each store was a big hit with the public. Then in 1914 came war. Managers sent over the top, some of them never to return. The rate of store openings increased. Despite 52 managers being called up for service, so strong was the company by 1914 that just one American manager was needed. Executive office was relocated from Liverpool to Victory House, Kingsway, London. In 1923, W.L. Stevenson took over as managing director. He joined the team right back at the beginning, recruited by F.W. Woolworth himself, and he'd learned his craft well. Now there would be changes to the formula. Freehold instead of leasehold stores. And suppliers must work even harder to offer customers even more value, while keeping the top price to just 6pence. The formula was a great success, with Woolies stores opening in high streets up and down the land, and a queue of suppliers in reception just waiting to serve the company. Such was Woolies' success that by 1930 a new executive office was needed. New premises were commissioned in New Bond Street, right in the fashionable heart of London. Suppliers looked at the company's success and came flocking to the door. A great example of this appears in the autobiography of Eric Passold, the managing director of the Ladybird Company, who first dealt with Woolworths in 1932. He writes, "We went to Woolworth's palatial head office building in New Bond Street and met the textile buyer, a Mr. Q. He was a well-spoken, friendly man who waved us into comfortable armchairs. 'Yes, sir. I can pay you 4 shillings and threepence a dozen for assorted sizes and colours. I've written out a starting order for 8,000 dozen. Stores raise slip orders during the season. Those should add up to another 20,000 dozen, I would guess.' He made it sound as if he was casually ordering a cup of tea. I could hardly believe my ears. 28,000 dozen. I hope you're pleased, and if you justify the confidence I have in you, there'll be plenty more orders coming." Pleased? I was the happiest man in London. My dream was coming true. Now our factory would hum.
Just remember I had every word, 'cause we were together on the night of June the 3rd.
Woolies, #1 for entertainment since 1890. Before Edison invented the gramophone or the movie projector, F.W. Woolworth were already literally selling music by the score. I Am Forever Blowing Bubbles sold 1.5 million copies and provided cash for Frank Woolworth to build the world's tallest skyscraper, which was to be a permanent memorial to the power of nickels and dimes. He bought a site in Broadway Place, New York. He bought the building materials for cash himself to keep costs down. He supervised every detail of the work personally. That way, he said, not only will we get a great headquarters building, but we'll also make a handsome profit. The Woolworth Building, the tallest in the world.
I can't give you anything but love, baby. Diamond bracelets Woolworths never sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well.
Oh, baby!
Baby, oh, baby, where is Zoe?
I'll be back.
Oh, dear. I can't give you anything but love.
In 1923, a colleague in the South End store recorded in her diary, "Today we heard the sad news that Mr. Fred Moore Woolworth had died. He's led our company since 1909. We were given the rest of the day off. Mr. Stevenson will lead the company now. At least now perhaps we'll be allowed to stock gramophone records like everyone else." She was right. Within weeks, Eclipse, the new electrically recorded records, were on the shelves. And they were under half the price of anyone else's store.
Happy when the daylight comes creeping, heralding the dawn, sleeping when it's
Many Woolworths stores were located next door to a cinema. Little wonder, given the range. There was sheet music, many magazines to do with the movies, not to mention books and later toys and gramophone records. Promotions, competitions, and even dressing up in the store were all related to the movies.
underneath the arches. I dream my dreams away.
In the late 30s, the Eclipse label made way for Crown, a new Woolworth label on both sides of the Atlantic.
Happiness I see.
And the leading artist on the label was none other than Vera Lynn.
Ladies and gentlemen, the management of this theatre pray to commend to you the products of Messrs. F.W. Woolworth and Company. The many and multifarious items paraded before you are available for threepence or sixpence in many stores across the country. Most items are British made, with others made in the Empire, and all are of the utmost quality.
I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, we're sure to find happiness. And I guess all those things we've always pined for. Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets Woolworth doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, that I can't give you anything but love.
I have sold at least $25 million of Christmas tree ornaments to F.W. Woolworth. We sell to all, but Woolworth was the first. Remember, implored Woolworth, that Christmas is our harvest. Trim your windows twice a week with big leaders with prices attached. And be sure to keep stocks of regular ranges to the minimum you need, so there's cash in the bank for tryouts. Christmas. Frank Woolworth called it our harvest. The first to introduce Christmas decorations, a market that Woolies has rightfully owned ever since. the leader in developing new and innovative ranges, not just cards and decorations, but lights and banners and toys like you've never seen. The magic that means that every child wants to go to Woolworths. No de-seasonalizing the business for Mr. Woolworth. Sow and you shall reap. That, as they say, is the wonder of Woolworth.
The Battle of Britain is about to begin. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war.
I've got a coupon, jolly, jolly coupon. I've got a coupon, the only one to spare. I've a coat and a vest, but as for the rest, my coupon is all I have to wear.
If the British Empire lasts for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
To the heart of London's West End, the self-condemned criminal sends his pupils to wreck and burn department stores and shops. Indiscriminate bombing is the hallmark of the Hun.
Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think we're on the run? We are the boys who will stop your little game. We are the boys who will make you think again. 'Cause who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think old England can?
1945, and the chairman, William Lawrence Stevenson, expressed his thanks and admiration for all those who had contributed to victory in the World War, to everyone who had picked up the pieces after enemy action, straightened the counters, and got right back to work. But he paid special tribute to the customers and colleagues of Store 362 at New Cross Road, Deptford, who had paid the ultimate price. Killed without knowing the reason why, while shopping and serving at their counters on a busy Saturday before Christmas. Now, though, it was time to rebuild for the future. And despite continued rationing and a shortage of building materials, the company launched on a unique and remarkable period of expansion. They had the buying power and the reputation, the import licenses, which were very hard to get, and above all, without the restriction of threepenny and sixpenny prices, the buyers were able to show enormous creativity and flair. Before the war, they could only sell paper patterns to make your own clothes for sixpence. Now they could sell the garments themselves, and did, by the million. By 1950, most of the stores destroyed in the Blitz had been rebuilt, and a rapid program of opening began. Between 1950 and 1956, 332 stores were opened. That's a store opening every 5 days outside the Christmas season. Every store from 769 Newry to the 1000th store in Portslade, Sussex. By 1959, when the company celebrated its Golden Jubilee with a grand dinner for executives and managers at the Dorchester Hotel in Park Lane, F.W. Woolworth had become the second largest company on the stock exchange, second only to ICI.
What a wonderful world this would be.
In the speeches after dinner, as well as congratulating the British subsidiary for its success, Robert C. Kirkwood, president of the American parent, launched a passionate and surprising plea. But don't rest on your laurels. It would be easy for you to believe that you're making millions and nothing needs to change. Learn from us in the United States. In the last 10 years, new competitors have entered the market and put our company under real pressure.
I'm the rival. I'm the competition. Come to Kresge's. See the exhibition. Give up all that shopping at a Woolworths.
We've had to drop prices and accept lower margins. We have invested fully half of what we made to relocate the stores in shopping malls and back to the heart of town. And for us, it may still be too late. In Britain, while you're at the top of the market, invest now, and you will sustain the brand for maybe another 100 years. Fail, and in 10 years' time, you will be in decline. There was a little polite applause, but no one took any notice. Stores were not relocated. Moves to self-service were painfully slow, and range development for main chain Woolworths ground to a halt as executives turned their attention to new formats. Woolco.
Every now and then I get a little bit nervous that the best of all the years have gone by.
Shoppers World.
And I get a little bit terrified and then I see the look in your eyes.
Woolies got older and older, further away from the heart of town, and lost sight of the meaning of value, cutting prices by dropping quality on many of the new Winfield branded ranges. Sales volumes were maintained and grown by advertising, on TV and in the press for the first time.
What do you get at Woolies this Christmas? Value in sweets and confectionery, cards, decorations, wrappings, and look at this colourful range of Hamlin's books. For the men in your life, the classic Old Spice. And for the ladies, this beautiful range of Winfield handbags. Then there's Burlington shirts, audio equipment, money-off records and tapes. Wonderful toys and some super savings. And for that difficult present, Woolies gift vouchers. You just can't beat Woolies for value.
Everything you want me. Everything you want me.
Liverpool's top stories, and 73-year-old Liverpool retailer F.W. Woolworth has fallen victim to a takeover. It's all good news.
So it does seem that this massive takeover will go ahead, and that
2
will
weeks of intense speculation in which behind the deal the Charterhouse Group, but the big Woolworths will become British owned.
They changed our local valley into a bowling alley and things ain't what they
The principle that we've always followed is to use the assets of the business in order to develop and grow it in the best way. For example, we used the basic assets of Woolworths to grow B&Q far faster than B&Q could have grown on its own.
It used to be fun.
What we realised was that the business did have a tremendous amount of potential, but it was going to be a huge challenge.
Paris is where we spend.
Hey? No, they're in the bag. In the Woolworths bag! Number.
After almost 3 years of wholesale store closures, the new owners launched a radical plan to turn Woolworths around and re-establish it as a going concern. The plan focused in 4 key areas. Merchandise, moving from being a jack of all trades to establishing larger and more specialist ranges in 6 key areas.
Never seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight.
Systems and supply chain, installing new tills and electronic ordering, and giving distribution a radical overhaul.
Never seen so many men ask you if you wanted to dance.
Store formats, separating the chain into city centre stores called Woolworths Weekend and local high street stores called Woolworths General Store.
All the highlights in your hair that catch your eye.
Staff attitude and training, establishing regular staff meetings, new uniforms, training programs, and putting the pride back into the business. Sales on the new ranges quickly lifted off, generating much more profit from a much smaller range. Profits rose as stock holdings were reduced and shrinkage was brought under control.
No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized.
Dixons were defeated in the first ever successful defense against a hostile takeover. Various experimental formats were launched, including a specialist shop for children called Kid Store.
Do the things you wanna sing, frame by frame, to the extreme. One by one, we're making it fun. We are the cartoon heroes, oh, we are the ones who gonna last.
In 1990, following a further tussle with Dixons, Kingfisher looked again at the Woolworths strategy. Ladybird, gifts and sweets and entertainment shops, each in the Manchester Arndale.
Good morning, Mr. Woolworth.
Time to open up the store.
The weather seems to be beautiful today.
Good morning, Mr. Woolworth.
You're late.
All the town.
There were also new store openings, all quite small properties in the big towns that had been abandoned in the early 80s.
Check. We're hoping, Mr. Woolworth, it will be a great success, and someday when we're very old and gray, we'll say that we worked for you and be so proud we clerked for you on opening day.
Well, is everything in order? All right, Tom, let's open the door and see what happens.
Yes, sir.
But by 1999, as the company celebrated 90 years in your high street, the offer to the customer was getting tired. The trading format and many of the items were first introduced in 1985, almost 15 years before. No substantial new ranges were introduced in all of that time. And during the same period, competitors began to copy the successful parts of the Woolies formula.
Is a feeling so sublime here at Mr. Woolworth's.
Yeah. In late 1999, it was time to act. The Woolworths formula needed to be updated. Big W, a category-killing out-of-town format. General merchandise from Woolies, health and beauty from Superdrug, electricals from Comet, and DIY and gardening from B&Q in a one-stop shop format. Complementary channels. The Woolies range from a catalogue, kiosk, or on the World Wide Web at a time when this was extremely fashionable. Still, the main focus was on existing ranges, bringing together the best of Kingfisher's product portfolio into new store layouts, still with very little attention to the customer and very little done to refresh the existing ranges or update the main chain formula. After much soul-searching, in the end, Kingfisher decided to de-merge the general merchandise business and put Woolies and Superdrug up for sale.
Thanks so much indeed. Shares in Woolworths have begun trading this morning after the parent group Kingfisher voted to float off the high street retailer. Shares have surged 20% from an opening price of around 25p.
The new management team took a long, hard look at the company, talking to many colleagues and customers to work out how best to develop Woolies and reinvigorate the brand. They soon recognized our enormous strengths. A brand name that's respected the world over, legendary buying power, and huge mass market appeal. 6.5 million customers every single week, over 10 million at Christmas, and market shares to die for. The challenge is to rediscover the strengths that made Woolworths great.
Woolworths is a great brand.
Woolworths is held with such an affection amongst the majority of UK customers. It's almost unbelievable. I mean, last week, 7 million customers visited our stores, and that tells you how they feel about us.
Dream of falling in love, anything you've been thinking of. When the world seems to get too tough, bring it all back to you, yeah, yeah.
What would Mr. Woolworth make of our British Woolworths today? Well, he'd be proud to see the stores, the energy and the commitment of Woolies people. He'd love kids first and the way it puts something back. He wouldn't be a bit surprised that while the stores have changed, the key values have stayed constant. Think back over the company's first 123 years, and the same values come up again and again. Frank Woolworth loved product. Never a day went by when he didn't explore some new idea for a range or display, and he expected every buyer and supplier to do the same.
You say I'm obsessed about product. I'm proud to say you're right.
He outlined the volumes that he could order up front and evangelized the new automation that the suppliers could use to make massive increases in their productivity. Mr. Woolworth wrote to his stores every day, explaining clearly and in layman's terms what needed to be done. He reminded executives at head office, remember, always keep things simple. Any instruction you give must be carried out many thousands of times, so be sure to make it easy to do the job right.
It's our new pickling gun. It's just the simplest of things that anyone can operate.
We only have a receipt roll. And to change it, it's as simple as that.
Woolworth never put off until tomorrow what he could do today.
How did I corner the market in Christmas decorations? Simple. Taking the first boat to Europe and not resting until I had ordered everything that Mr. Wilmsem could make. In retailing, you've got to be in it to win it. Look out for the coaches and carriages arriving at your store and serve these people well. They may buy all you have, but do not have time to be kept waiting. And if they come to laugh at us or simply to find out what all the fuss is about, let them. They can tell their friends, and they can come too. None leaves without making a purchase.
Putting on my top hat, tying up my white tie, brushing off my tail.
Wear the name with pride. Woolies, a company that's already revolutionized retailing across the world and is about to do so again. With a special focus on our key customer, Debbie, a young mum who relies on Woolies for great value solutions for all the family.
And I trust that you'll excuse my dust when I step on the gas.
Above all, have fun.
Get ready, everybody, 'cause here we go.
It sounds funny, but we did a performance for all the heads at Woolworths. All the heads at Woolworths, it was like all the big cheeses and everyone was there. And we did a performance and they were just so bubbly. They were like the most hyper crowd we've ever had. And they were all about 30 years old. And they was all jumping up going, hey!
Would he be able to turn the company around? For sure. Would he believe that we can do it? If we choose to remember, but then refine. If we're brave enough to innovate and entrepreneurial enough to try some new along with the old, he'd say that FWW UK is alive and well, and about to make its next billion.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Well, we're going, we don't need roads.